Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to the headwaters of Rock Creek in the Gros Ventre Range in western Wyoming. The creek is about 9 miles as the crow flies to the nearest primitive road, let alone any civilization. This country is high elevation, with the hilltops reaching just under 10,000 feet. Ribbons of pine, fir, and spruce trees dance along meadows of grass and sagebrush wherever the wind blows. Common animals here include mule deer, elk, and moose. Dominant predators in the area include black bears, coyotes, cougars, wolves, and the apex predator anywhere it steps, the grizzly bear. On the evening of Friday, October 21st, 2022, 65-year-old Lee Francis was deer hunting with his 40-year-old son Josh. They were both dentists and avid outdoorsmen. Josh owned his own practice in Pinedale and was happy to follow in his father's footsteps professionally. Lee and Josh had plenty of run-ins with bears over the years. Just a few weeks ago, they'd had a grizzly wander into camp and spook their horses. They also bluffed a different grizzly away from them during a tense standoff while they were hunting. Lee had hunted brown bears in Alaska with his bow and black bears the year prior in Idaho. He had a great lesson on why hard-cast bullets were the only ammo to pack for self-defense from a bear. One of his family members had wounded a black bear and pulled out his 10mm pistol loaded with hollow-point bullets to finish off the bear. With a few shots to the head, the black bear expired, but as the men skinned its carcass, they noticed the hollow points had mushroomed just beneath the hide. The black bear likely died from the shot to its vitals more than from the 10mm hollow point shots to its head. This is when he researched hard-cast bullets for his Glock 10mm and purchased some soon thereafter. Lee's carried bear spray in the past, but today was a windy day, so he left it behind. The men had spent the day hunting around the timberline all day, riding their horses and mules between glassing sites. They had tags for a sought-after mule deer unit, and there were some dandies hiding in the brush. It just took time to glass the hills to find them and work your way into a good shot. Leaving their pack string along a trail near the tree line, the hunters climbed a short rise to get a good view of the valley. After Josh began glassing, Lee decided he would go get the horses. As he walked down the slope, he kept his eyes up, still looking for that elusive muley buck. He crossed the point of a small rise and glanced down to a big pile of disturbed dirt right in front of him. He could see huge grizzly bear tracks in the dirt and knew he had just walked upon a grizzly bear den. Lee muttered the first half of every cuss word he knew as he carefully tried to back away silently. As he stepped backward, he pulled out his Glock from its holster, worked the action, and chambered around. A little information about grizzly bear behavior in Wyoming is in order to understand Lee's predicament. Grizzlies in the Rockies choose dens on the northern slopes, located between 7,000 and 10,000 feet in elevation. The reason for this is that the snow on the northern face of a mountain doesn't tend to melt as much and provides better insulation for the bears. Grizzlies will dig into the hillside at the base of a tree or in a patch of brush, moving over a ton of earth and rocks over several days. The opening will be just big enough for the bear to squeeze through, and the den will be open a little wider, several feet past the opening. This preserves heat that escapes from the bear's body during torpor. Now in a slow retreat, Lee watched as a grizzly bear muzzle began protruding from the den opening. An enormous grizzly head soon popped out of the hole and began sniffing the air. Lee knew he was far too close to fool that grizzly's sense of smell, and his heart dropped as the grizzly snapped its head directly toward him. From that point on, the bear's movements became a blur of snapping jaws and swiping claws. As the grizzly approached, Lee lifted his left leg in a defensive kick to keep the bear's head from getting too close to him. The bear had already covered about 12 feet in distance between them in what seemed like no time. Lee had 13 rounds in the magazine and one in the chamber of the 10mm loaded with 130-grain hard-cast bullets, and managed to fire 4 of them by the time the bear was only 1 foot from the muzzle of his pistol. Just after Lee's 4th shot, the bear plowed into him, sending him flying onto his back. The man kicked at the bear and continued to fire his pistol, hoping to hit the bear in the head. He fired at point-blank range and was cocksure he'd struck that bear several times. After several shots, the grizzly spun on its heels and disappeared over a small rise. That's when Lee's pain kicked in. The bear had swatted him on his left thigh and didn't seem to gash him anywhere with its claws. It didn't manage to get any part of Lee's body in its mouth, so the pain in his lower leg confused him. Upon hearing Lee's pistol shots, Josh came running to see what was going on. He could see his father lying on his back, still holding his pistol, but nothing threatening anywhere near him. He asked his father what had happened, and listened as his father explained he'd been attacked by a grizzly bear. Josh asked him if he was all right, and Lee explained that his lower left leg was hurting. Josh examined Lee's leg and could see a hole just below the inside of his calf muscle and a larger exit wound just above his ankle on the outside of his leg. Given their medical background, they both knew the bones in his lower leg were broken by the way it was bent awkwardly. Josh worked quickly to slow Lee's bleeding and dress his wounds. It was clear Lee was in no shape to hike out and that the horses were the only way he would be able to make it to medical attention. Josh helped Lee to his feet after fetching the mule of their pack train. Each time they tried to lift Lee onto the back of the mule, his leg would twist, and pain would shoot through his body. As he led the pack mule, Josh reached out for help on the satellite phone. The Sublette County Sheriff and Tip Top Search and Rescue directed the hunters to Water Dog Lakes. Due to inclement weather, the rescue helicopter couldn't fly into their location. The SAR team was heading toward the lakes on UTV from Flying A Ranch and were hoping to beat the storm rolling into the area. The hike to Water Dog Lakes took 3 hours, but as soon as the hunters arrived, they found the SAR team. They loaded Lee into the UTV and sped down the mountain toward the waiting helicopter at the base. After arriving at the medevac helicopter, Lee was flown to the University of Utah Hospital to be treated for his gunshot wound. The bruises from the bear's attack on his thigh didn't need to be treated and would heal in time. In 2 surgeries, a metal rod was placed into Lee's foot and lower leg. As soon as his pain subsided enough, he planned to drive himself home from the hospital, back to Evanston. Following the incident, wildlife officers were notified and initiated an investigation into the bear attack. It had snowed the night after Lee's attack, which covered much of any evidence left of the attack. The agents couldn't find any evidence that the bear was injured or killed. They concluded their investigation, labeling the bear's attack a defensive one, and Lee's attacks justifiable in defense of his own life. As far as returning to the location, Lee indicated that Josh would return the following Friday to fill his deer tag. Regrettably, he would have to go alone this time. Lee states that he'll return to the backcountry after he heals up and will make sure to pack hard-cast bullets in his 10mm again. Lee estimated the grizzly to be 8 feet tall and that it weighed around 700 pounds. After a search of the area, wildlife officers never located a bear carcass or found a wounded grizzly. Lee Francis's attack was the second grizzly attack that week in Wyoming. The other was the grizzly attack on the 2 college wrestlers, covered in an episode on our channel. I've linked to that episode below for your review. I've also posted pics of Lee's gunshot wound on our Patreon page, linked below, because it wouldn't pass YouTube standards. In addition, I've added a link in the video article to the Bear Wise public notice from Wyoming Fish and Game, just in case you're considering visiting the area in the future. After reviewing the details of Lee's attack, I have a few questions for you. Would bear spray have prevented this grizzly bear attack? Did the hard-cast bullets drive the bear off of Lee? Do you think Lee hit the bear with any of his shots? Does the fact that Lee wounded himself during the attack affect your choice of weapons against a bear attack? I might have to think about it, honestly. I'll be glad to read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.